Hello, my name's Nathan and I am the Event Delivery Manager here at the University of Worcester Arena. So this often means that I am the manager for international netball events, international taekwondo championships and international wheelchair basketball tournaments. I've amassed over 250 hours worth of experience within my time here, having worked here for 2 years. And a large amount of the events that often take place here are for 1,500 people or in excess of. So this often involves the creation of a culture that is inclusive for wheelchair users and disability users. And this often involves people management, problem solving abilities and the approach to resolving conflict. Within my time here, I've also been able to develop this role of servant leadership, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about how this impacts on my leadership style and the overall culture within the arena.
When looking at servant leadership, it is important to consider Greenleaf's definition of the concept. He discusses that the servant dictates effectiveness of the leader, and it's all about the responses to the leader's decisions that dictates the effectiveness of the servant leader.
So a large amount of my role here, I often have to think about how I'm going to be a successful leader. So this often involves me thinking about how I'm going to create the culture and the actual servant leadership approach. So one way that I think about success is whether I'm receiving positive comments from event staff and the organising team. So if I'm able to lead a team that's getting positive comments, actually is something that is beneficial for the wider public and is perceived to be well run, it's something that I'm doing well and it's something that I can take forward. Also, improve performance and efficiency within the arena. So if we have event staff that are able to work well as part of a team and can actually feel encouraged to take those steps that they wouldn't normally do, then I'm creating a servant leadership approach in allowing people to make those decisions for themselves. Also, decreases in event issues. So if I'm giving other event staff the opportunity to lead for themselves and actually make those decisions, then I'm to possibly not do less, but give them the approach that they need to make sure the event runs well. And also returning events to the arena. So if we're allowing people to return to the arena that have already been here, then it's obviously showing that the approach that I'm using is effective and the team is working well to provide this approach. With such a large events team comprised of students, research has shown that servant leadership will help to combat employee turnover. Sticking with a consistent team will improve experience of event staff and build a more inclusive working atmosphere that encourages knowledge transfer. The concept of relational attribution, identified by Everly et al. 2017, lends itself directly to the arena culture. This is evident when managing event staff, as the current culture has started to be dominated by a largely women-based workforce. Everly et al. Explains that same-sex dyads often show the most evidence of a group that will spend more time getting to know each other and would be more likely to work more efficiently as a team. If I am able to put the servant first in the improvement of their own performance, this will lead to a culture that encourages skill development and interpersonal working. Taking the time to get to know event staff personally and being able to react positively to constructive criticism will also reduce employee turnover intentions and create a positive employee-oriented culture. This approach would also allow me to see success in the managing and delivery of international scale events. To be an effective servant leader, approaches should be rooted in previous experiences and should put the servant first. An issue that I can seek to change in my delivery is that of a blame culture. Often when working, there is a lack of ownership being taken for issues that arise and mistakes that have been made. In utilising an approach that allows servants to make decisions and learn from the times when judgment may be wrong, will allow for a transparent organisation that promotes positive learning environments.
The revised servant leadership profile was used, created by Wong and Page 2000, to highlight some of the areas within my event delivery manager role. Within this profile, it outlines 62 items with a 7-point Likert scale. The questions are divided into 6 factors: empowering and developing others, power and pride, serving others, open participatory leadership, inspiring leadership, visionary leadership, courageous leadership.
When looking at the servant leader profile, there are a large amount of benefits which can be seen within the large amount of research that's been done to back up the items that are within the questionnaire. A large amount of the items are backed up by literature that I've also made reference to in my essay. This makes sure that it makes reference to empowerment, issues of critical thinking about leadership, and also some of the elements of servant aspects which some of the other profiles may have missed out on. Also, the fact that it's steeped in management literature is also quite relevant to my degree and the area of expertise that I am trying to develop. Some of the negative aspects of the servant leader profile is that it doesn't include a scoring system. Now, this is quite detrimental to the profile, as once you've completed the survey, you kind of want to understand how the leadership profile impacts on your overall leadership. Especially when you have a set of scores and you're not really sure how to apply them to your own management style. It can sometimes be, you have to make your own judgment on whether you think you're effective in it, and that often gives rise to subjective opinions. And then some leaders may perceive themselves to be servant leaders when they're actually transformational, which may conflict with the profile itself. Also, it lacked relevance to the negative impacts of leadership. So often with leadership, there's a large amount of attributes which cause servant leaders to be seen in a negative light. So these are the dark side of the dark elements of leadership. It doesn't really make reference to that, it's all quite positive. So as a profile, you'd like to see elements of questions that possibly allow the leader to be not marked down, but seen to answer questions around some of the aspects that they might not do so well, and then that would obviously help them to locate whereabouts they are in terms of their leadership and what sort of style that they maintain throughout their management. So when delving deeper into some of the findings that I found from completing the profile, I found that I was quite effective in a large amount of the areas, apart from power and pride. And this could be related to, I show a large amount of servant leadership factors that possibly negate the reason to use power and pride. So if I, as a leader, I'm giving the leadership to a large amount of employees, so event staff, then that means that I'm having to use my power less. I mean, sometimes I do use power when I'm talking to the organiser, when I'm talking to customers and I'm having confrontation, but that doesn't often come across within my leadership, and that probably gives reason behind the findings within the profile. Also, the profile highlighted that I have high empowerment, I have high attributes in terms of serving others. I also have high inspirational and visionary leadership. So these factors are all related to servant leadership, and the fact that they were highlighted in the profile doesn't perhaps say that the profile is effective, but it does show that my perceptions of what servant leadership are correct, and it possibly does relate to positive perceptions of leadership and realistic outcomes. However, there is room for improvement. As mentioned, the low power and pride. I may not need to improve upon these attributes, as a servant leader doesn't need to look to power and pride a lot of the time. Of course, elements of pride do come into leadership, but if I'm looking to give a large amount of leadership to my servants, or to the employees I should say, then that means that I'm having to utilise power less and give that power to employees, and it's how the employees use that power that's then reflective of my own leadership style and how effective I am as a leader. So applying my findings to the work context is something that should be done from the profile, just simply because there's so many applicable contexts that the items could be utilised in. So the fact that I was quite high in empowerment is something that I should be looking to build upon and continue to give servant leaders continue to give servants the opportunity to take on the leadership role and make decisions for themselves, and obviously empower various other people that continue to work at the university is something that leads to a better organisation and better effectiveness, as research shows. Also, putting myself in more challenging situations and scenarios will help me to build upon my lack of power within the profile. And also taking on more responsibility is something that I could do more of. So in terms of managing bigger events, possibly putting myself in different scenarios that I can continue to learn and continue to build upon to improve power and improve my responsibility in terms of empowering other individuals that continue to work at the university. And also the fact that there are elements of the questionnaire that are questionable, but at the same time they are relatable to my management, and they should be utilised further in the future. So maybe 2 to 3 years down the line I could reflect on some of the opportunities that I've been given and look at if I've improved or if I've regressed. And there's opportunities for further research in terms of longitudinal studies into the effects of servant leadership on event management, as a large amount of research which I conducted for the essay in PebblePad found that there weren't a large amount of event management literature. So looking at servant leadership and event management, that's something that could be done further down the line to improve the understanding of event management and some of the underlying concepts of the industry. And also the utilisation of another questionnaire or profile outline. So North House created a profile which could be suggested that it lacks in accuracy due to a lesser amount of items within the profile, but it does also include a scoring system which is quite effective in understanding how highly you're rated as a servant leader and in terms of areas for improvement. So that's quite an effective use of that profile that I could use in the future.